Have you all gathered here today as we come together to address one of the most critical challenges of our time. It is called plastic pollution. Punch Media Foundation is the development arm of Punch newspaper. It is a non-profit organization committed to stimulating a just, inclusive, and thriving civic space while driving sustainable social change through media and advocacy. With a focus on impactful initiatives, the foundation leverages the power of media to promote transparency, accountability, and active public engagement. We bring you this virtual event as part of our webinar series focused on finding innovative solutions to combat plastic pollution in Nigeria. It is also good to tell you about our webinar series. It's a program designed by the Punch Media Foundation to mark special UN International Days toward creating awareness on tackling issues around underpinning the Sustainable Development Goals. Plastic pollution knows no borders. I tell you, it's all over the world. It affects every corner of our planet, threatening marine life, ecosystem, and human health. Today, I must say, we stand united with the global community to raise awareness, ignite conversations, and inspire action. We have a lineup of distinguished panel of experts, policymakers, industry leaders, and change makers who will share knowledge, insights, and experiences. Together, I tell you, together, we will delve into the complexities of plastic pollution, explore sustainable alternatives, discuss policy frameworks, and highlight successful initiatives making a tangible impact. I encourage you all to actively participate, embrace the spirit of collaboration as we embark on this transformative journey. Together, yes, together, let us explore the path to a sustainable environment in Nigeria and a cleaner, greener world. Once again, a heartfelt welcome to you all. Again, I say together, we can make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sani, for that brilliant speech. I really love that you said, together we can make a difference. And that is why we all here this morning, because we all want to see ways in which we all can work together to beat mismanagement of plastic waste in Nigeria. Thank you very much. So just like Mr. Sani rightly said, we have quite a lineup of speakers, of panelists, from the industry, from the media, from the academics, and I'm sure that they have quite a number of things to share with us today. And so without wasting much time, I would like to introduce our panelists for this special webinar series. And I would like the tech team to please ensure that as I read their citations, the public can actually get a glimpse into what they look like. So I will be starting with Dr. Dolapo Fashawe. I apologize if I mispronounce the name. Good morning, Dr. Dolapo Fashawe. So Dr. Dolapo Fashawe currently serves as the first female general manager and chief executive officer at Lagos State Environmental Protection Agency, LASEPA. She's a public health practitioner passionate about healthcare in developing countries. The environmental activist and award-winning public health practitioner has carried out laudable projects in Nigeria to further promote the need for a clean environment. Among other academic degrees, Dr. Fashawe holds a master's degree in public health from the Lagos State University College of Medicine and a diploma in international health consultancy from the Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Dr. Dolapo Fashawe. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone.
Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Also, we have an astute scholar, Professor Antoniette Ofili. So she's a consultant in community medicine and a professor of public health in the Department of Community Health, School of Medicine, University of Benin. She's a voice on public health matters and an accomplished health expert with over 3 decades of experience in active practice. A role model to many and an astute researcher, Ofili studied and graduated with a degree in medicine at the University of Ibadan in 1987. She is a member of the Board of Trustees for Amoke Foundation and a member of reputable professional and medical bodies. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Professor Antoniette Ofili. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you very, very much for taking time to join us. Thank you very much. And next on the list is Mr. Oluyomi Banjo. Mr. Banjo is the National Program Coordinator, Environment and Energy at the United Nations Industrial Development Organization. He's a seasoned environment enthusiast and an industrial expert with vast international experience. He currently sits on several environment and industrial-related steering committees at various levels in Nigeria and some African countries. He oversees issues of environment, water, and mining, including international conventions and treaties. He holds 2 bachelor degrees in chemistry from the University of Ado-Ekiti, Nigeria, and the University of Hull, England, as well as a master's degree in chemical engineering from the University of Manchester. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Oluyomi Banjo. Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you from the UN headquarters at Vienna. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
And then also we have Dr. Adenike Adebukola Akinshimolu. She's a sustainability advocate, a social entrepreneur, author, and educator. She's regarded as one of the top authorities and leading experts on environmental sustainability in the nation. She founded the Green Campus Initiative to make environmentalism a part of the everyday experience of Nigerians. The Green Campus Initiative later transitioned into the Green Institute in 2016. Dr. Akinshimolu holds a PhD and master's degree in environmental microbiology from the Federal University of Technology, Akure, and Babcock University, as well as a postgraduate diploma in education from the Obafemi Awolowo University. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Dr. Adenike Adebukola Akinshimolu. Good morning, Dr. Akinshimolu.
Good morning, Deborah. Thank you for having me and looking forward to learning and sharing today.
Thank you very much. Okay, up next is Mr. Michael Simire. I apologize if I didn't pronounce that correctly. Okay, so Mr. Simire is a qualified urban planner, environmentalist, and science journalist. He's the principal consultant, CEO of MSN Associates Limited, an outfit focused on urban planning, environmental management, and development consultancy, among others. So he founded the Enviro News Nigeria, an online news magazine with a bias for environmental and development issues, and one which believes that the media has a responsibility to seek out solutions instead of solely exposing problems. Simire holds a bachelor's and master's degree in urban and regional planning from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and the University of Lagos, across solid waste management across 3 geographies. On the request of the Sierra Leonean government in 2012, Dr. Unswabia led the Lagos waste management team to Freetown and formulated the current waste management policy in Sierra Leone from 2012 to 2013. He has a doctorate degree in environmental management with a specialization in municipal solid waste management. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Dr. Essien Unswabia. Good morning, sir.
Morning, all. And I really apologize. I'm trying to, my video is giving issues, but I think I'll soon come on.
Okay,
I am happy to be here this morning.
Okay, thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have our panelists here with us this morning, and do not forget the topic. The topic is plastic pollution in Nigeria and the solutions for a sustainable future. Oftentimes, we hear about waste pollution. We hear about waste pollution, waste management. Who should be responsible for waste management? Is it the government? Is it the private individuals? Is it residents and all of that? So, but today we're going to be getting an insight into, plastic pollution in Nigeria, management of waste, and the solutions. So we're going to be starting with Dr. Dolapo Fashawe. I don't know if she can hear me. Dr. Dolapo.
Yes, I can hear you.
Hey, ma. So I think we can have you now, ma'am.
Okay, good morning, everyone. We're discussing a topic which I cannot be overflogged. It has been discussed over and over and over again. I believe that we should be talking about a call to action. And my discussion today is geared towards the people listening to me. And my opening statement is that it is a collective responsibility. It is not just government's responsibility. How do we tackle this plastic pollution menace? You have asked me to talk about the role of government, institutions, and international organizations. I'm going to also add the role of you, industries, homes, and every other person that live in that ecosystem called Nigeria. Now, plastics, think about it, is something we cannot do without. In our daily lives, in making containers, our mobile phones, our refrigerators, the furniture we use, even cosmetics, our children's materials, even in building, plastic is something we need. However, irresponsible management of plastic is what leads to plastic pollution. It's just very simple. How do we manage a plastic material that we have used? If we do not dispose of it properly, plastic pollution that we are talking about is not just an eyesore. It has so many other indices that are alarming. It leads to death. It leads to cancer. It leads to cardiovascular diseases. It leads to destruction of our whole ecosystem. What is government doing? Government has come out with different policies, different groups, different committees to look into this. And the truth is, enforcement of our conclusions or our recommendations would make life hard for the average Nigerian. Nigeria is densely populated. Second to Gabon, in fact, Lagos, let me talk to Lagos. Second to Gabon, Lagos has the smallest landmass and the most human beings on earth. And human beings are those that use these plastics, anthropogenic activities. Now, what are we trying to say as a government that you need to do? I'm happy Mr. Yomi Banjo is here because some of these regulations are federal regulations. Plastic management falls under environmental laws, and there's both executive and concurrent. There's very little we can do in Lagos without the federal government backing us and making specific and clear policy directions. Plastic waste generation per day in Nigeria is over 2.8 million tons. And out of these 2.8 million tons, only 10 to 13% is recycled. Now, plastic is a non-biodegradable material, meaning that if we take away 10% or 18%, let's even say 20%, the rest of this almost 2 million tons is hanging around somewhere. And when it hangs around somewhere, it becomes a problem. That is what plastic pollution is. It clogs our drains. I wish people could start looking at the implication of plastic pollution outside the effects, implications on us. I'm a medical doctor, so I always try to connect the nexus between environment and health. We have done it in health. Take cigarette consumption. When we started noticing that the rate of cancer is on the increase in the world, the producers of cigarettes were mandated to put on that pack that cigarettes causes cancer. They started putting scary pictures. They started putting the implications of smoking. We are all talking about responsible consumption and what the government is doing. What about the producers of this material? What are they doing? There's something called extended producers' responsibility, and government is starting right now to be more firm on the producers of this material. And there are international organizations like UNIDO joining us. There's all sorts of national policies. There's the National Policy on Solid Waste Management. There's the National Policy on Plastic Life Cycle Management. And recently, UNIDO, supported by the Japanese government, has come up with a committee which I am lucky to be part of in finding alternatives to plastic. Because if we say we are banning plastic and you should not use plastic, we should make the alternative available, affordable, and degradable. And for it to be affordable, it means that we are not asking the consumer and the general public to bear the grunt of eradicating plastic pollution. I want this to be an interactive session. All of us on this panel are experts. We know what the problem is. It is the people we're talking to out there that we should be addressing. And I want everyone to know that government is doing a lot and we are taking the right steps towards improving a plastic management chain. And we're moving from linear economy to circular economy. And as regards plastic, what we're saying is every single plastic is somebody's raw material. We're encouraging recycling, reusing, even reducing and refusing. Now, let us look at one of the most notorious polluters, that thing called styrofoam. You know, that soft thing that we used to take small chops and all. It doesn't degrade. And when we burn it, it releases chemicals into the air that causes global warming and climate change, that causes air pollution, which impacts on our lives directly. It is alarming, but in 2020, 32,000 Lagosians died due to air pollution. Not necessarily plastic pollution, but plastic pollution is part of it. Let's think of plastic pollution clogging our drains, blocking our gutters, because it is impermeable to water, and water must always find its ways. What happens? It backtracks, we have flash floods. There are many waterborne diseases that are avoidable if we dispose of our plastics properly. Now, there's a project steering committee for promotion of sustainable plastic value chains through circular economy practices. Now, we have an international collaboration with UNIDO, like I said, government of Nigeria, I'm talking from a Lagos State point of view, and Japan. There also has to be a stronger and a more multi-sectoral approach with NESRIA, Federal Ministry of Environment, local, in every state, there are waste management authorities and the environmental protection agencies. We need civil society. We need professional organizations. We need NGOs, even organized formal sectors, MAN, WAMASON, FIBRA, all of them are supposed to be joining in this conversation. And in concluding my discussion, what is most important is behavioral change and sensitization. Let people start to understand all these policies we are making, all these government statements, all these committees. How does it affect me as a Nigerian? How does it affect my offsprings and my future generations? I'll just use a quick example. When I was growing up, I remember buying Coca-Cola. When we buy Coke, they will take the empty crates back to get another crate of Coke. So they were selling the liquid contents only. We didn't have a plastic pollution problem this bad now. So government is starting to invest in education, awareness, especially in youth, the primary and secondary levels, because if we face it, our own generation, we've lost the war against this global warming and climate change and plastic pollution. It is when we start to educate and change mindsets of the younger population that we can start to see any difference. For example, if we ban the use of plastics now, you will ask me, then how do we survive? We want to buy food. It's not up to 2 decades or 3 decades when I was in university. When you want to buy food, you send your bowl to the food seller. And that is reusing and reducing. Nowadays, every food seller has styrofoam or plastic available for you. So when you say the government will ban and the consumer will bear the grunt, everything becomes expensive, it is not true. It is just our mindsets and our attitudes and our practices that has to be changed. Plastic waste needs to be tackled at the point of generation, ensuring that materials that are reused are not discarded at first use. Also think about it. When we were growing up, everybody on this panel is from a middle socioeconomic class, if not high. How did we used to put water in the fridge? We used to refill bottles, either, what's that thing called? Dubonnet bottles or plastic bottles, and put it back in the fridge. That's recycling. And when we continue to recycle, we reduce the amount of plastic being churned out. Now, the problem with recycling is that imagine having to collect 200 naira for 1 kilogram of plastic. To make 1 kilogram of plastic, plastic is very lightweight. To transport it to the next available recycler will cost you more than the 100 naira you are going to collect. So what do? You just dump it on the road. But if we start to let people know the implication of dumping it and not separating our waste and understanding that these things are reusable and we can reduce the amount coming out of these industries, then I believe we are working in the right direction. Can you imagine that we are a net importer of plastics? We spend about 1.7 billion. This is a UN figure in 2019, 1.7 billion US dollars in importing plastics. Plastics that is causing a menace to us. This is recognized by all the agencies and all the federal governments and parastatals dealing with the environment. Now, what do we need to do? Our extended producer responsibility regulations developed by NESRIA is there, but are we enforcing it? And if we enforce it, what is the implication? The implication is that everybody that uses plastic needs to change their behavior, needs to change their attitude, needs to change how they treat plastic or how they even approach plastic. I'm happy to say that in my agency in Lagos State, single-use plastic is banned. And it was a very easy thing to do. We gave everybody flasks. When people come for CSR, we say, give us reusable flasks. And we put water dispensers across all the corridors. And what then happened? Loma used to come and pick our waste twice or 3 times a week. Right now, they come once in like 2 weeks because there's nothing going into our dustbins. You know, plastic is very bulky.
Yes.
100, your dustbin is full. We have a pit where we put vegetal waste, food waste. We use it for manure. We have a paper shredder where we send our papers to industries and they give us toilet roll in exchange. So in the end, nothing goes into our dustbins. So apart from government regulations and what is government doing, if we, even Punch, in your office, start to think about these things, start to reduce the amount of plastics coming into your system, and if it comes at all, start to reuse it, recycle it, then you are supporting government in tackling the menace of plastic pollution. How do we deal with the informal markets? Scavengers, people using plastic to sell food, supermarkets and all. In developed nations now, if you want a carrier bag when you go out to shop, you have to pay extra. You have to pay extra on your shopping. So instead of government saying, oh, we have banned plastic, how about we start a massive campaign and saying, take your own bag, reusable bag, clothes bag, Ghana must go. Why don't we throw our suitcases away anytime we use it to travel? Or our school bags. We reuse it and reuse it and reuse it. We can have the same approach towards plastic without having punitive measures to people who we catch throwing plastic on the roads. So you're a media organization. You have a strong role to play in this war against plastic pollution. It's a multi-sectoral thing. I'm happy international organizations are supporting us. I'm happy funding agencies are supporting us. UNIDO, in fact, is looking for alternative to plastic. It will look like plastic, it will feel like plastic, but it will biodegrade.
Very
now,
much.
Microplastics have been found in the food we consume. Fishes, because we throw plastic in the oceans. And these microplastics cause cancer. We're seeing younger people having cancer now. And we're saying, oh, he never smoked. His lifestyle was very healthy. Let us start to push this information out. And I believe the change we are expecting will come very soon. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Dr. Dolapo. That was a brilliant submission. In fact, personally, I learned, quite a number of things. I am very happy that, you spoke to the roles of, the industry, the government, and even individuals. I mean, you mentioned something that, the regulations for, waste management is not just under the control of the state government, but majorly under the control of the federal government, and that there is little that states can do without efforts from the central government. And then you also mentioned something. You said just 10 to 13% of the 2.8 million tons of plastic waste are recycled. I mean, that's a very, very low figures. And also you spoke about, the implication of, plastic pollutions and the connection between the environment and our health. I hope that, our listeners are actually, noting down some of these points, because I know that, there are a lot of questions, and we are still going to come back to you, ma'am, because, there are tons of questions, and even personally, I have questions that I want to ask you. And I'm also happy that, you highlighted the role of the media, and I am happy to say that that is one of the reasons why, the Punch Media Foundation actually organized this webinar series. The Punch Media Foundation is also, playing a very, very important role to sensitize members of the public about these particular issues. Thank you very, very, very much, Dr. Dolapo. Okay, so before we move to the next speaker, I would like to acknowledge the presence of the chairman of Punch Nigeria Limited, and Mrs. Angela Emua. Good morning, ma'am. And also the presence of the Managing Director, Editor-in-Chief, Punch Newspapers, Mr. Adeyeye Joseph. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. So please, if you're just joining us, this is a Punch webinar series on plastic pollution, the hope for a sustainable future. And yes, please, if you have questions, feel free to make use of the chat section, or you can make use of the hashtag that have been carefully selected for the purpose of this event, hashtag Punch Webinar Series, hashtag Punch Media Foundation. Feel free to tag us via our various social media platforms: Facebook at Punch Newspapers, Instagram at Punch Newspapers, Twitter at Punch Newspapers. Thank you very much, Dr. Dolapo. So for our next speaker, we will be moving on to Dr. Essien Nsuabia. I'm sorry if I did not pronounce that well. Good morning, Dr. Essien.
Good morning, Deborah, and good morning to everyone here.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, so, and thank you,
Dr. Dolapo. So for you, as someone who has about 24 years on municipal solid waste management, I'm sure that you have quite a number of stories, experience to share with us. So I would like to hear from you about this very important topic. Over to you, sir.
Yes. Thank you very much, Deborah. It is true that Nigeria generates over 2 million tons of plastic waste annually, and then part of that data indicates that about half of that is generated in Lagos. And just like what Dr. Dolapo said, Lagos has about 10% of the entire landmass of Nigeria, and perhaps too the population of Lagos might also be 10% of the whole population of Nigeria. So you can now see that so much plastics is being generated in Lagos with a very little landmass, and then there is so much, leakages of these plastics we are talking about. And let me pause this to say here, while the policies, the programs, as highlighted by Dr. Dolapo, if true, everyone wants to prevent, want to reduce, want to, minimize plastic waste and the impact on the environment and public health. We from the solid waste management sector, we are concerned in two different flanks. Number one is the plastics that is already in the environment, that has been accumulated in the environment, that had been in the blue economy, that has impacted so much negatively. How do we get them out of the environment? Also, we also in the waste management sector, we are also looking at how do we then manage the plastics in future. So our own is look at the back, see how you can correct the past, and then get prepared for the future. And having said that, I can tell you that only about 45% of total plastics generated in Lagos have been recovered. And then that means that over 55% or thereabout have been leaked into the blue economy and also into the green economy. The impact of plastics in the blue economy, I don't need to remind us. And that of the green economy, the climate change is very visible. The emissions, the landfill emissions, and the collection equipment emissions are all there, to let through. The issue now is this: how do we recover what is in the environment? And it's not just recovering plastics, because we have got to realize that when you recover the plastics and you do not have what to do with the plastics, you are not able to use the plastic, you don't have markets that would make use of that plastic turned into products, then you are creating more problems for the people and for the environment. That's why in Lagos Waste Management Authority, in our sustainability program, we come up with something called LOMA Loop, which we have been explaining over some time. The LOMA Loop is a simple framework of managing waste in particular, and then ensuring that it is sustainable and is circular. We are trying to move from linear waste management into circular and sustainable waste management that will lead to circularity. How do we do this? This has to do with the involvement of the private sector. We have collaborators, partners to come in. Because you can imagine that some couple of years ago, that our recovery percentage was about 5% of plastic. And then all that is generated over 2,000 tons per day is in the environment. But I am pleased to announce to you that we have moved from that 5% recovery rate to about 45% recovery rate. That is, what I mean by recovery rate is the retrieval of the plastic waste from the environment, from the channels, from illegal dump sites, from homes. So, and having done that, then it is very important that as we are recovering, we are converting it into useful products. We are making sure that the industries have, received this sorted, recovered, treated plastics back into their production line. And that was why I made mention of the LOMA Loop that talks about the production line. The product is out from production line through the distributor to the consumer. Then from the consumer to post-consumer, from post-consumer to LOMA recyclers. And then from LOMA recyclers, we have a value chain that begins from the pickers, the aggregators, the pre-processors, the processors, and the off-takers. So it is planned in such a way that the off-takers will then take the processed plastic, back to the production line. This is aimed at reducing the quantity or the volume of the natural product that is used to produce these plastics, so that in future, our children that will come, our grandchildren, will also have access to this natural product. So we in waste management is about, managing what was there in the environment and then thinking of how to do it better in the future. For the future approach, we are looking at increasing our recovery activity. This is why we are in strategic partnership with a lot of people. I'm talking here about the Recyclers Association of Nigeria, LAGRA, Lagos Recyclers Association. I'm talking about FIBRA. I'm talking about industries that have come in and set up processing centers in strategic places in Lagos. What they're doing is to ensure that they make use of the recovered plastics. Like I said earlier, if you recover the plastics and then you don't have any sustainable way to, use it, using best technologies, it will go back to where you take it from. And that's why you'll be so surprised if you get to the largest dump site in Africa, which is Olusosun, you would see companies that have come in there to build collection centers. And you see lots of vehicles going there to take off these plastics. And I can give you this data too, that upon all the plastics that get into that Olusosun, What I mean by the informal sector is not just those that will go and pick up waste and dump in public drain channels. I'm talking of those people that you see them get to the scavengers, for example, the waste pickers, and then they get to the waste and then recover those materials. And you'll be surprised also to know that this informal sector form about 0.7% of Lagos working population. And if these people are adding value, then we would have to ensure that they are properly integrated, they are trained, they have the value chain, we make use of your data, then we ensure that they do it in a way that, their health will not be jeopardized while doing the job. So for us, while the policies are going on to reduce the plastics, then for the future, we also have things that we are planning to ensure that so that people should, because of the way economy is now, should have an option of using what's not plastic,
which is very good. Actually, Nigeria has been identified as a very good example of instituting EPR in an African country. But now the EPR needs to move a step forward in the sense that it needs to be enforced. We, as UNIDO, our mandate is to promote industrialization, but to promote it in a responsible manner. So the industries have to make attempts on being responsible for the entire life cycle of their products and also adopting circular economy. Circular economy is not just about managing the waste after it has been produced, but it even starts from product design. What type of product are you using? So this is where alternatives to plastics also come in. Then also we should look at research and development. There are global problems, there are domestic problems. So some of these problems, they also require domestic solutions. So this is a global problem, but also Nigeria is a big country, it's a big economy. Nigeria should also dedicate resources into research and development, come up with innovative ideas, solutions to manage, either for managing the end of life, which we want to de-emphasize on, but emphasize more on the circular economy, which goes to the life cycle,
So we have quite a number of questions here. While we may not be able to answer all the questions live, I think our panelists can please, attend to the questions privately. But then we're going to be taking just 2 questions, after which the tech team will roll out the polls so that, the participants can fill in the answers. So for the first question from Engineer Kingsley from the National Center for Technology Management, Modibo Adama University, Yola, Nigeria. My questions are, 1, what are the potential solutions to create a sustainable future and suggestions on how the government of Nigeria can create a secure and sustainable future by utilizing the available technology and resources in the country? Then the second question, how do we identify and evaluate the challenges imposed by plastic pollution on the society, environment, and economy? Dr. Dolapo, please, I'd like you to take the first question. What are the potential solutions to create a sustainable future and suggestions on how the government of Nigeria
as an emerging economy is filled with a lot of brilliant people. When we go on international programs and conferences, you find out that Nigerians are leading World Bank projects in Eritrea, in Nordic countries. We are asking these people to come home and give us these ideas, sustainable ideas. There are so many people with implementable solutions, but they do not have a voice. So my suggestion would be that we create a communication, not that we talk at people, we give them an opportunity to respond back to us as we're doing now. We create a forum or a forum whereby people can come in.
Still waiting for Mr. Essien. Launch of advocacy advertising campaigns in the media through the funding received by the government and other relevant bodies. And
learn, not to throw out.
Was here, Professor Ophili was here, but
the also said absolute feedbacks. The closing remarks.
All of our panelists. Thank you, Dr. Fashawe. Thank you, Dr. Akinshimolu. Thank you, Dr. Essien. Prof was here, Professor Ophili was here, but she was caught out by some technical hitch. Thank you, Mr. Semire. Thank you to Mr. Banjo too. I think he left already. Thank you to everyone. And thank you again to our Board of Trustees. Thank you for your immense support always. Thank you to every member of the team, the video team, the crew, the tech team, and every member of the foundation who has made this possible. Thank you very much. And I hope that we all can take this conversation forward, take it to our different spaces, and see how we can help the government and institutions to tackle this huge challenge that we have on our hands. Thank you very much. And I hope that the next time we call, you'll all be here. So it's bye from me for now.
Yes, thank you very, very, very much. Please let's not.
Thank you.